Mr. William Hodge, Permanent Secretary, Mr. Darrell Lloyd, Deputy Chief Education Officer, principals, teachers, students, well-wishers, good afternoon. We have all gathered here to witness the handing over of bags and school supplies to boys and girls in St. Kitts. These supplies are from caring, patriotic, die-hard Kittitians who reside in the United States of America. As I think about this initiative, 3 S's come to mind. Simple. Supplies for simple boys and girls. Significant. These supplies are very important. They are tools that will help to hone the skills of our students to prepare them for not only now, but for the future. Sacrifice, the financial sacrifice investment made in purchasing these supplies. This, indeed, is a meaningful ceremony. So, welcome to all to this simple, significant, sacrificial ceremony. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Mr. Vincent Hodge, I know that he was part of this initiative and was very instrumental. So we'll now turn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Principal Blanchett from the Seventh Adventist Primary School, Honorable Minister of Education, Deputy Chief Education Officer, principals, teachers, boys and girls, good afternoon. Let me hear the boys and girls do that again. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, that's better. The St. Kitts Nevis Nationals Association of Washington, D.C. is an organization that is made up of Kittitians and Nevisians and some other persons from other Caribbean islands who have some connection to St. Kitts and Nevis. This association was newly revived, and so over the last 4 years, we have been raising funds and doing some projects to benefit persons both in the United States and here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Having lived in Maryland, that's one of the United States states, close to Washington, D.C. and Virginia, I got myself involved with the association, and when we elected officers, I served as the first vice president for 2 terms, which was about 4 years. And this year, January, I assumed the role as president of that association. And within 6 months, 9 months, 6 months, 7 months after assuming that position, I was called to come back to St. Kitts to serve, and so I had to, well, as it were, give up that position. But what I want to say to the boys and girls here is that we have a number of persons who have left home for a number of years, and they have not forgotten about St. Kitts and Nevis. Their heart is right here, and they want to do a lot to help us. And on your programs, you have some of the names. Some of you would recognize some of the names. Some of you persons like Mrs. Springer from Maurice Hillier have visited the area and actually interacted with some of our members. When we revived the group 4 years ago, we decided to have a number of annual events. One of them is a walkathon. It's a 5-mile walk on a place in Washington, D.C. called the National Mall. Now, that's not a shopping mall. It's a place that you would find most of the monuments in Washington, D.C. Can any of the boys and girls tell me the names of any monuments in Washington, D.C.? Okay. Don't feel badly, because some persons who live right in that area don't know the names of those monuments. But that is something for your social studies teachers to do with you when you get a little older. But it's a 5-mile walk, and we do this just about the end of April, beginning of May every year. There are some persons who actually run the 5 miles. People like me would run maybe 2.5 miles and walk the other 2.5 miles. We also do what we call a Caribbean breakfast. Caribbean breakfast with things that you eat here: saltfish, Johnny cakes, fritters, sauce, bullfoot soup, and things like that. Because, you know, after we leave the islands and we go up to the United States, we miss the kind of food that we were accustomed to. So we try to recreate something close to what we would get back here. So we do that on the Saturday in front of Father's Day. And that would bring in about $5,000. We sell a plate of food for $25, and that would bring in about $5,000. Our first project, we gave the money to the Pink Lily Society. That's a cancer society here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have Pink Lily in St. Kitts, correct? I know we have it in Nevis, yes. So we sent some money down, and there was a 7-year-old child that year who was suffering from brain cancer from around Molyneux side. I don't know if anybody knows the story. Negala was her name? Yes, we went to visit her in the hospital in Maryland, and we gave some money, probably about $2,000, to help with her medicals. When we went to visit her in hospital, we were encouraged by her strength. For a 7-year-old, she was amazing. Her strength, her courage. I need to check in to see how she's doing now, but I'm sure that she's doing a lot better, because since the treatment, she has been going back and forth, you know, for follow-up treatment. But being the teacher in me, when we were finished with that project, I encouraged the group to work with our schools. And so this is the 3rd year running that we are doing this project. We decided to buy about 100 backpacks and put some supplies in. Composition books, pencil, rulers, dictionaries, and stuff like that. We started off with the schools in the East Zone. The 2nd year, we did the schools in the West Zone, and this year we are covering the schools in the Bastille Zone, including our private schools. Hence, we have Maurice Hillier, George Moody Stewart, and the Seventh-day Adventists. Every year, we have also actually included schools in Nevis, because the association is the St. Kitts Nevis Nationals Association. And so it is my great pleasure that I'm here in person to make the presentation. Previously, we had persons who, like Mr. Lloyd and Ms. Gums, to do it on our behalf, but God has worked things out that I'm here this year to be able to make the presentation on behalf of the nationals back there. I want you to make sure that you take care of the bags and that you use the supplies to your best. We had a suggestion that we need to follow up with the students to see how you do during the course of the academic year and beyond. So, your names have been pinned on the bags. We try to match up with the colors that you suggested that you wanted, the colors, the style, and so on. So your names have actually been tagged on the bags, all right? I should have the names, but I will get them from your teachers. And at some point, I'm going to come, and when I visit your schools, I'm going to ask for you and just to check in to see how you're doing. With the amount of visits that I have to make to these schools, I don't think the minister is going to see me in my office a lot. But yeah, we need to be checking to make sure that you're doing well. All right? It is my great pleasure to symbolically turn the bags over to the Honorable Minister. We're going to invite him to receive one of the bags so we can get some pictures. And then he in turn will turn them over to the the Deputy Chief Education Officer. Our Minister of Education is very interested in the welfare of children. Not only ensuring that you get the best educationally, but he's also concerned about the fact that need is not something that should keep you back from learning. So, on behalf of the St. Kitts Nevis Nationals Association of Washington, D.C., Mr. Minister, it's my pleasure to turn these book bags with supplies over to you for the use of some of our children here in the Federation. Please accept this gift.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mr. William Vincent Austin Hodge. Principals of the various schools, so we have with us the Deputy Chief Education Officer, Mr. Darrell Lloyd. Students, teachers, good afternoon to all. This afternoon it is indeed a pleasure for me to accept from the St. Kitts Nevis Association of Persons Living in Washington, D.C., the book bags and the various other materials which are in the bags. It was only probably just a few months ago that we received a similar donation from the very same association. Last time around, different schools would have benefited. This time, the goodies are being shared amongst different schools, and I am certain that you would note that it's not just public schools, but also the private schools, which are the beneficiaries of these educational items. I want to, of course, express gratitude to the association through Mr. Hodge for this timely and kindly donation. We recognize that here in St. Kitts and Nevis we have a number of students whose parents are sometimes unable to provide them with all of the necessities to make school as comfortable for those students. If we look around, we realize that all of the students are wearing uniforms, and we know that wearing uniforms is one of the ways in which you try to sort of not have any distinction between students as to their particular background, their particular circumstances. And while it is that you have that, in some instances, you're still able to make that differentiation, and some students probably come to school feeling a little uncomfortable because of the fact that they are not able to basically feel that they're just the same way and have all of the other necessary materials as other students within their classes. Therefore, by donating these bags to those students who are in need, I think it places those students in a much better position, not only in terms of their own psychological development throughout the school year, but in terms of their own ability to be able to bring their books to school, in terms of their own ability to have all of the necessary materials which they are going to need to perform as best as possible in the various classes. The association, of course, did not have to make this particular donation. However, I think it is conscientious persons who recognize that they would have received their own education here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and so they have looked for ways in which they can give back to younger persons here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So, like them, they can get their own education and go on to become whatever it is they desire to be in life. I said to you, the students, that you must be thankful, and one of the best ways for you to show how thankful you are is to ensure that you care for the bags, you care for the other items that you are going to receive this afternoon. Caring for the bags, of course, means that you don't want them to mash up too quickly. You want to wear them with the best of care. You don't want to leave them lying around idly for anyone to steal the bags or the items within the bags. With the books, of course, you go to your different classes and you use the books, not that you go into the classes and you fail to use the books, you fail to use the pencils. That is when the teachers are teaching you, you do not pay attention. So that is the best way for you to show gratitude to the persons who would have made these donations to you. Again, I close by saying heartfelt thanks on behalf of the ministry to the St. Kitts Nevis nationals living in Washington. I thank the teachers for organizing the different schools who are here this afternoon, and in particular to the Irishtown Primary School for hosting us this afternoon. Again, thanks to all.
Thank you, Honorable Richards. You're always very supportive, a very humble man, always active in the field of education, and a wow man, and you are nice. Okay, what does that spell? I don't know. Sean Richards. And so I usually look into people's names and see if the letters match with their personality or demeanor. And so I looked through the Deputy Education Officer, Mr. Darrell Lloyd, and I noticed that L's ring out throughout his name. And so we're going to hear from him. He's a loyal person. He's loving. And he's not dead at all. He's lively. And so I welcome Mr. Darrell Lloyd.
And on behalf of the ministry, to express our profound thanks to the association, friends and relatives overseas. The ministry believes in partnership, and this is something that was forged a few years ago. As a matter of fact, I think this brings the end to a cycle of 4, where quite a number of zones, or all the other zones, would have benefited in the past. Just a few months ago, we would have given to the West Zone, and sometime back we would have given to the East Zone, and now it's the Bastille Zone and the Nevis. And so we are glad when we have persons who look at our children and recognize that they can do with a little extra. And we are particularly pleased that this association saw the need to reach out to our boys and girls. Indeed, the ministry is particularly pleased, and on behalf of our Chief Education Officer, who is currently off island on official duty, I want to express again our thanks to Mr. Hodge and his association for the timely and meaningful contribution that they would have given today. I want to say to the boys and girls, as would have been alluded to by the minister and the speaker before him, boys and girls, we are asking you to take very good care of the bags. It is not something that they came by just picking them up. You understand? As Mr. Hodge would have said to you, the permanent secretary, that they would have gone on a certain venture in an effort to get this. They did fundraisers. I'm sure that persons would have given willingly of their own money. And so I ask of you to take very, very, very good care of these bags. Like Mr. Hodge, our office will come around and check, because we are going to get the names and we are going to ensure that you are taking very, very good care of the bags. I'm glad when persons can reach out, and this is indeed a proud day for us, a happy day for us, and we say thanks to the association. I want to officially hand over, and I'm going to invite the principal from the Dr. William Connor Primary School. She would have just, she had a ceremony a while ago, so she is no stranger to the camera. And I'm going to invite Ms. Saida, all of the principals rather. All of the principals, please come forward.